Hey there, everybody. Good to see ya. Kind of miss ya. It's spring, doesn't look like it. That must mean it's just about time for registration. And you're probably looking for words of wisdom from your former principal. Well, let me see what I used to tell all the kids as they think about registration for next year. Number one, register for what you want, not for what your friends are taking. Critical. Serve yourself on this one. Number two, challenge yourself. There's a lot of reasons kids can come up with not to take challenging classes, but there's a whole world out there that you're going to learn about someday, and everything you can do to get ready for it is important. And especially if you're registering for your senior classes, there's that notion of a senior slump. Don't do it. Studies clearly show that kids who take off their senior year don't start well in college. So challenge yourself. One of the things I've noticed over the years when kids come back, for example, who are going into engineering or a health-related field, I ask them how well they were prepared. And one thing they'll always talk about is the chemistry class they had to take in college. If they took Mr. Gunkelman's chemistry, they were fine. If they didn't, they struggled. So think about those kind of things as you register. Also, when we talk about challenging yourself, though, we also want to talk about moderation. A lot of you will be taking classes online, college classes, those type of things. That's great, but you also have to still be a kid. Allow yourself some time in your schedule and your day to take the things you enjoy and not to overburden yourself. We want you to enjoy life, especially if you happen to be a senior your senior year. Challenge yourself, but only to a point, because you still have to be a kid. We want you to be happy and everything you do. You know, with this copy, we're kind of the shop I built this last fall and winter. I'm just putting on a little deck out here outside my wood shop. When I look back to high school, I spent a lot of time in the shops, the egg shop and the wood shop and the auto shop and the metal shop that we had in our school. And those are skills I still use to this day. I do a lot of baking, a lot of cooking. When you walk down that hallway, when you walk past Mr. Swanson's and Miss Olson's and Mr. Spears and Miss Hager's area, check in one of those classes or more. I cannot believe how valuable that was for me in lifelong skills. And finally, get your registration slip handed in. Everything that goes forward from here is predicated on getting those slips in and getting registered on time. Miss Anderson has a very good looking father, and also is going to be building that master schedule based on what you take. And there comes a point when if you are late with your paperwork and you don't get it handed in and a class fills up or whatever, you're out of luck. She'll be moving classes around from that master schedule you're working off based on the early registrations or the majority of them that come in, and you want to be a part of that. So it's really critical that you take the time to get that registration slip handed in and do it now. And one last thing, be nice to the principal.
Hi, welcome to virtual registration, sophomores.
Going to be juniors, and this next year opens up a lot in your schedule. I'm very excited to talk about next 2 years.
You're going to find you get way more elective opportunities, so many more choices. You have more room in your schedule to fit more electives in, so you can really start making your school day start to look more how you want it to be. You also are going to have great opportunities to take classes that potentially can give you college credit, assuming you are doing well enough in school to qualify for those. What I'm going to go over with you to start with is the graduation requirements. So because you are getting closer to graduation, we really want to make sure that you are checking off all the boxes of things that you need to take and to pass. With that said, if you didn't pass something in 9th grade, or if there's something this year in 10th grade that you're worried you may not pass, please do whatever you can do to get that taken care of. Communicate with your teachers, start doing the work. Please get that taken care of, because if you fail a required course, which are the pre-printed ones on here in 9th and 10th grade, you have to retake those and fit them into your schedule.
So you don't just get off the hook?
You don't.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time checking to make sure that we don't just let you off the hook. So please make sure you take care of it. I always tell kids, you've put your time in the seat or online, why wouldn't you want to get credit for it? So it's not just a waste of your time. So make sure you take care of things, ask for help if you need to. Going into 11th grade and 12th grade, you'll see that there's required courses listed on here, but not very many. You have to take an English class next year. You'll have a couple options. You have to take a social studies class next year, and things are changing a little bit in social studies world. You have to take a math class again next year, which is your final math class. The one that you take is going to depend on how you're doing this year and which course you're in this year. And the rest is stuff that you can fill in. You can see next year as seniors, you just need English and social studies. Now, let's look at graduation requirements for you. Quick recap, 1 year-long class that you pass earns you 1 credit. Credits are what you accumulate in order to graduate, and you need 25 of them. So that is your goal, earn 25 credits. It's very doable for students unless you have failed multiple classes along the way. So don't panic if you've passed your classes. Even if you failed 1 or 2, you're going to be okay. So the change in social studies that we are looking at is that you need to have 4 years of social studies, which is the same, but how we are offering them to you and how we're placing them in the sequence has changed. Starting next year, Mrs. Alvin's history and social studies classes are going to be on an every other year rotation as far as what they cover. We're trying to make sure that we are getting you the state standards, which the junior and senior year ones that are left for you will be world history and economics. And so what that's going to look like is that while world history has for a long time been a junior year class, that will not be offered next year. Everybody will take it their senior year. For you guys, you are going to have the government and economics courses, which if you want to talk more about what that looks like.
Right, so government will be first semester, and then economics will be second semester. And the reason we're doing it this year, it's an election year. So every other year, the kids during election year will be able to take government class in the fall. And then your senior year, like Ms. Beauchamp said, you'll take world history. So it'll be offered 5 periods, which allows for a lot more flexibility in your schedule to make sure we can accommodate those electives you want to take. So it's going to be a good change, I think.
The next requirement is going to be your science requirement. You have to have 3 years of science to graduate. And hopefully, if things have gone well, you've got your 9th grade physical science, your 10th grade biology. The third science that you need to take has to be something in the chemistry or physics area, and you choose if you take that your junior or your senior year. The options that are available to you are going to be chemistry, applied physics, physics, or advanced chemistry. Physics, I don't believe, is offered next year, so we'll see how that works out. But chemistry or applied physics are the ones available to you going in.
And if you're really interested and you really want to take physics, let me know and I can work something out with Mr. Gunkelman.
So again, maybe you'll take that next year, maybe you will wait till your senior year. That's your choice, and you can see how it works in the schedule. Many of you are going to choose to take anatomy and physiology with Mr. Gottenberg. That does not count as fulfilling that 3rd year of science because it's not a chemistry or physics class. So that will be an elective class, even though it's in the science area. As we keep on going down, 3 years of math, which you'll take care of next year. The Phy-Ed health and computer requirements are the ones that we embed in 9th and 10th grade years, so you'll have those fulfilled. The arts credit is one of the last ones you're going to need to make sure that you have taken care of. This is a state requirement by Minnesota that every student has to have a year-long art class, but it doesn't have to be the visual arts. It could be any art or music class. We'll have Digitools back next year, which is a computer class. Business operations starting next year has been approved or will be approved shortly to count as fulfilling the art standard. Occasionally students will do independent study drafting with Mr. Spear, and then independent study mass communications or yearbook is another option to fulfill that art standard. So it can be taken anytime between grades 9 and 12, but you have to have at least one of them. Say, for example, you took band in 9th grade, you've got that art requirement covered, and if you continue taking band, those other years of band are just elective credits. The last thing you need to have is electives, 8 of those. Remember, electives are just anything above and beyond the classes you've taken. I want you to pay attention to this college prep stuff because you guys are at the point where you're starting to maybe have a little better idea where you want to go to college, if you are headed that way, if you want to join the military, if you are thinking about entering the workforce, you're starting to figure that out. Keep this in mind as you are registering, that the college prep requirements are what is recommended by the state of Minnesota for students that are looking at 2 or 4-year colleges. The intent is that if you take these courses, which are going to give you a more rigorous course load, you're going to be better prepared to come into college and do well. That does not mean that you need these to gain admission to colleges. Here's the differences in the college prep guidelines and our graduation requirements. 4 years of math. 4-year colleges in particular want to see you take math all the way through high school. This is not a requirement everywhere, but if you're looking at going to the U down in the Twin Cities, it is. And so make sure that you are keeping that in mind, that if you want to go to the U or another selective school, you will want to take math. Otherwise, recommended but not required necessarily. The other difference is the 2 years of the foreign language. Again, this is a recommendation at a lot of four-year colleges, a requirement at some. The University of Minnesota system does want you to have 2 years of a foreign language, as do other selective schools. Colleges in the region like MSUM, NDSU, even Concordia, Valley City recommend it but do not require it. And so it just kind of depends what you are looking at. 2-year schools really aren't going to be as concerned about this as far as admissions goes, but just something to keep in mind.
And something also to think about if you plan on playing sports in college, either NCAA or NAIA, which would be Mayville, Valley City. You might want to make sure that you're registered with the NCAA Clearinghouse or the NAIA Center for Academics to make sure that you're taking the classes and passing the classes that you need to play at that level.
Want you to note the senior service hours. This is not anything you have to worry about right now. Mrs. Alvin will talk with all the juniors. Usually it's later in the spring of your junior year about that requirement. It's some volunteer hours that you have to do over the summer or through first semester of your senior year. So just know that that is coming. Now, classes.
Yes, so some changes and some updates on classes for next year. Juniors are able to take English 11. It's actually English 11-12, so you'll be taking it with some seniors in your class as well. And that was taught by Mrs. Siegel and is now going to be taught by Miss Ludwig. Or you can go the college route and take college English 11, and that is taught by Mrs. Gerald your junior year. Social studies, we talked about that. You'll be taking government first semester and econ second semester. Math, you'll either be taking your advanced algebra, or you could take college algebra and trigonometry. If those don't suit you, if math is not your strength, consider taking Math Concepts 2 with Mr. Woleen. If you're not sure what math class to take, you can talk to us or email your math teacher and they can put you in the right direction.
A quick thought about social studies too, because there's another change. AP Psychology has long been a course that students can take their junior or senior year to fulfill their social studies requirement. That is no longer the case because of the standards that we have to make sure that you are getting and how we are placing those. And so you can still take AP Psychology, just know it's going to be an elective course versus counting towards the social studies requirements.
And just a couple highlights about electives, and all of the course descriptions are found in that course registration guide. I could talk for 20 minutes about them, but I'll save you some time. A couple things, we're going to be offering first aid, first semester, and personal health, and that is taught with Mr. Heinrich, some really good skills there. Ms. Hager is going to teach a year-long ceramics course that's open to senior high students. Computer science is a class that Mr. Hubwin will teach, talking about coding, different things related to computers and how they function. We're bringing back accounting. If there's a certain period you want that in your day, let me know and we have some flexibility on when you can take accounting. That's a full year course. And then we're also putting in the schedule strength training, and that is with Miss Brenna. She is a student taught here this spring, and she will be a full-time teacher in the fall. She was also scheduled to be the assistant softball coach. So some strength training just to take advantage of our 2 weight rooms as an opportunity for you to embed weight training in your school day. We also have 2 new teachers and that could possibly take, and that's Miss Brenna, like I had said. She's an MSUM grad. Actually, she was a DGF Rebel in high school. Don't hold that against her. And then we have Mr. Johnson, who is a new senior high band director. He is a cobbler. Yes. He's a percussionist by trade. He loves to hunt and fish and hike and bike, and I think he's going to be very good at establishing relationships. So that will be the new senior high band director.
Just a little food for thought as you are starting to think about how you start to pick electives and what courses are the right courses to take. Start thinking about a few things. First of all, what are you thinking about doing after high school? If you already know that you want to do a hands-on trade kind of job, that you don't want to be sitting behind a desk, that would let you know that you should be taking some classes down in the shop or the tech ed room. If you know that you're going to be doing an engineering type class, you definitely should be taking the maths and the hard sciences. If you want to be an elementary teacher, take elementary aid. So start to think about the areas that maybe you are interested in, and these electives are a really good chance to kind of dabble in those areas to see if you like them or not. Because if you get into physics and you decide you hate it, you shouldn't be an engineer. So it's a good chance to do that. It's also a good chance for you just to try some things that you enjoy, like taking a ceramics class is a great opportunity. Maybe you don't want to be an artist, but you just want to try something new.
And it could be a lifelong hobby.
Right. Don't just take the classes your friends are taking. You're going to get a better experience if you take a wide variety of things that interest you.
And course registration will be done through Google Forms. I'll also put together a short video on how that works for you.
So starting your junior year, you finally get the opportunity to take some courses in high school that have the opportunity to earn you college credit. So we'll go through just briefly the different options you have and how they differ, as well as probably some of the GPA guidelines. I think that'll be helpful to you guys going forward. So while you're in high school, you have 4 different options to earn college credits. The first one that we offer here is Advanced Placement or AP courses. We offer 2 AP courses, AP Calc, which you can take as a senior because you have to have taken college algebra and college trig before you're ready for that one. And then AP Psychology with Mrs. Alvin. Also, Gunkelman is going to be doing Advanced Chemistry, which isn't an official AP course, but it's designed to help you take the AP Chemistry exam. You can't take that one until you've taken chemistry, so that'll impact your registration choices this year. If you want to do the AP Chem class, take chemistry as a junior so you can take advanced chemistry your senior year. The AP courses don't have any criteria as far as getting into them, as long as you are willing to work hard because they are more rigorous classes. Anybody can get in. There's no GPA requirement. The tricky part is that you're not guaranteed college credit. There's something called the AP exam, which you take at, usually in May of the year, and it's basically a cumulative final of everything you've done that year. Depending on the score that you get on that test, and it's scored on a scale of 1 to 5, and where you're going to college, you may have the opportunity to fulfill that requirement at college. Every college sets their own guidelines for it. So if you're going to go to MSUM and you get a 3 on the AP Psychology test, they would grant you credit for fulfilling that intro psychology course. If you go to Concordia, they require a 4 on a lot of their AP exams. If you want to go to Duke, they require a 5. So it's going to be a little bit, not of a gamble, but you're going to want to do some research on what colleges need. It's not a sure thing. The other 3 options are guaranteed as long as you pass the class. So we have 3 different options for you. The first one is college in the schools. So these are classes that are taught in-house by Holly teachers in collaboration with M-State out of Fergus Falls. This year we're going to have a variety of them. So the college English, Anat and Phys, college algebra, is it medical terminology offered for next school year? Nutrition is the one that will be offered your senior year. So there's a number of courses that you can take here, but you have to meet GPA requirements. So as a junior, you have to have a 3.2 GPA and normally the AccuPlacer, but we don't have that this
Not
year.
the AccuPlacer this year. There'll be a letter that a parent and a student has to sign, and there's a possibility we could be incorporating teacher recommendation as well for that.
So there'll be more information, I think, coming out about what that looks like.
Right.
But you'll see this on your registration form that you just register for those along with your other courses. The third option is the online college classes. And so these are the kids that you'll see working in the library on the computers throughout the day. Online college classes are taught by college instructors from a few different area colleges, M-State, Alex Tech, Northland, and Northwest Tech. You are scheduled for whatever hour in the day, and you're in the library. You can use the school computers. Some kids choose to bring their own laptops, but you don't need to. You can use a school computer, and you are logging into the Brightspace platform, which is what the Minnesota State colleges use. So if you have enjoyed distance learning, it's going to be comparable to that. If you hate distance learning, maybe online college classes aren't the right fit for you. To register for online college classes as a junior, you need to have a 3.6 GPA, and there's a separate registration process that I handle because I have to register you with the colleges directly. So that will also be emailed out. I don't know if it'll be attached to this one or as a separate one, but it includes having to get a registration form to me along with some parent signatures. The fourth option you have is PSEO, which is the abbreviation for post-secondary enrollment options. This is where students can take college classes either on a college campus or online, either full-time or part-time, and be treated just like any other college student. This year we've had about 7 or 8 Holly kids that have taken advantage of PSEO, and it's been a wide variety of how they have done it. Some have lived on campus, some have commuted to campus, some have just done one class part-time. If you are interested in PSEO, get a hold of me before May 30th. That is the deadline for you to notify us that you want to participate in PSEO. And I can guide you through that process. You are going to have to do the registration on your own. You have to find the college on your own. So it's much more like the typical senior year process of finding a college. It is not difficult. You just have to take care of that. And every college has their own admission guidelines. So get a hold of me if you want to do that.
And we don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have a lot of jurisdiction over these classes. So it's kind of on you to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to, because we don't communicate with them. It's you let us know what your grades are. So it's your responsibility there.
If you're trying to decide if you should take the college classes or not take these college classes, a couple important things to be aware of. First is what Ms. Anderson was talking about, like the work ethic part of it. You have to expect that these are going to be higher rigor courses because these are college level courses. So you're going to have more homework and you are going to need to expect to spend more time on it. Now, sometimes kids will say they don't spend a lot of time on their online college classes. And so just like here, there's going to be teachers that are easier and teachers that are more demanding. We don't know who those are ahead of time. So it's really kind of a leap of faith going into this for you because you don't know who you're going to get. So keep that in mind, that you want to plan for the most workload, and then if you don't have as much, great. I don't want you to get into being in spring sports and the musical next year and be super stressed out and also have a tough online college class. So kind of be mindful of your well-being and what you need to.
And these grades will go on your high school transcript and your college transcript. So you want to make sure that you're college ready because these grades do stick with you. We've had some students in the past that have not done well in their college classes, and it has prevented them from continuing to take college classes or to be admitted to the college they wanted to go to or even to get financial aid. So there's some pretty huge implications to not doing well in these courses. Please have a good conversation with your parents about if you are ready for this and if you have what's required to do it, and talk with your teachers too, because they know you pretty well to know if you can handle this or not. All right, so if you want to find out what your GPA is in order to see if you're eligible to do these courses, you have access to your transcript on JMC, which some of you probably didn't know. So here's step-by-step how to go through and find that transcript. First, you're going to log into your JMC student account, which hopefully you know. If your parents are the ones that always check your grades, they should also be able to get your transcript, but it's good for you to know your own login information. Once you're in there, you're going to click on transcript. If you want to see what your class rank is currently, on the drop-down box by class rank, it's going to be, I think, defaulted to semesters probably, so make sure quarters is selected, and then you can click quarter 3 option, because that's the one we just finished. And then you just click print. When I went through and did it today, I just downloaded the transcript so that you can see it that way. As you are looking at your college, your eligibility for college courses, the cumulative GPA that is listed is the one that is used. And so it's not just your sophomore year, it's the cumulative one, which is 9th grade through 10th grade. Do know that even if you don't meet the GPA requirement for your junior year, for senior year, the GPA drops a little bit to 2.8 for college in the schools and 3.2 for online. So you still have the opportunity, you just maybe have to wait another year. That is it. As always, if you have any questions about what classes you're not exactly sure what you're going to take, contact Ms. Beauchamp or myself, or we can even both do a Google Meet with you. We'd be happy to do so.
Happy registering.
Juniors, a few things I'd like to show you before you actually register for your courses. I'm sure hopefully you've watched the videos that have all kinds of information. This is the registration, the form. make sure that you type in your name. And then for each period, you're gonna go through and select your class. So period 1, semester 1, select what class you're going to be taking. Same thing, period 2, all the way through to period 7, semester 2. So make sure you select a class for every period. If there's a different class or you're working in the resource room with a teacher, you can just type that in other. Also, if you're a teacher's aide, make sure that you send me the confirmation from the teacher. So you'd email Mr. Rolene that he is allowing you to be his TA, and then you'd forward that on to me so I can get you plugged in where you should be. A couple other documents. This is the master schedule, so you can see how your classes will lay out during the day. And then this beauty is the registration guide for students in grades 10 through 12. It includes all kinds of useful information. The graduation requirements, which make sure you're paying special attention to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements. The course tracker, example schedules, and all of the course descriptions for every class that we're going to offer this upcoming school year. And then at the end, if you're planning to play sports in college, make sure you're paying particular attention to the NCAA clearinghouse forms that you will need. This is for if you're planning on playing in the NCAA. This is not NAI, this is NCAA, Division I or Division II. So if you're planning on going to Concordia, that will look a little different. Work with who's ever recruiting you or whatever, wherever you're thinking of going. Make sure you're working with them to make sure that you're meeting those requirements. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am happy to help.